What's up there, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Pitch Summit podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the BSP. Like, share as usual, comment on this video, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates necessary from this podcast, of course, and other content on the channel. Follow us on social media. I'm at BSP on Twitter, PitchSitePod on Instagram, and of course, you can listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any platform you wanted. Let's start and let's kick off this episode, of course, as usual, with some news round. Unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of the bad news, really, but we're going to be starting with some negative news. Certainly, there's no really details on this. Just broke out about 1 hour ago, really, before I start recording. Milan confirmed that both Hakan Çalhanoğlu and Theo Hernandez tested positive for COVID-19. Of course, certainly they will be in isolation, and certainly further testing will take place before the next game of them, which is against Cagliari tomorrow night away from home. Let's quickly turn the subject. We don't want to stay a lot in negativity, and let's turn our attention, of course, to the big game ahead of us on Sunday between Liverpool and Manchester United, straight at Anfield, of course. And we start with some statements. Maguire saying that Man United can cope with the pressure ahead of the Liverpool clash. It's said that he said that his first defeat, of course, first game was a 2-0 defeat against Liverpool at Anfield, of course, that left United 30 points behind their historic rivals, of course. He said that he's learned so much as captain, whose career built in the lower stages at Sheffield United before an upgrade to Leicester and to the 2018 World Cup. He says it's a massive honour to play there, but I am here to win trophies, of course, with the club and win games and trophies. This is my character. He said, I played in League One. I learned about heading, blocking, tackling, and the rest in a really tough environment. It teaches you to be tough. He says the main thing isn't about stepping out from the back and knocking long diagonal balls to people. It's about keeping the ball out of your own net. Firmino, he says that United will be Liverpool's biggest title rivals ahead of the derby. I don't know if this involved in the mind games kind of thing that is going on between the two clubs at the moment, but certainly Roberto Firmino has, given United probably a bone, really, to pick on, saying it's clear that Man United are having a great campaign, perhaps the best for many years, but nothing surprises me because it's a great club and this is always a special game. He says right now you have to say they are our main rival in the title race, and that is why we have to beat them and remind them that we are champions. He says these games that any professional wants to play and the ones you want to win. It would hurt for our fans if we lose, I know that is true, but I promise that nothing other than winning enters our heads. Hopefully for him, this will be the case this season. Going back and still in the Premier League, of course, I'll be talking about the fallout from yesterday's action as Lampard hails outstanding Mason Mount for his performances and his match-winning display against Fulham, of course. I mean, predictably he would do so. I mean, he's a player that Lampard really loves a lot. The 22-year-old scored really late against Fulham to save a hard-fought victory for Frank Lampard. He hit the bar in the first half and scored the match winner after 78th minute with a half volley after the flopped clearance from Areola to Ben Chilwell's cross. After the game, of course, Lampard praised the player and compared him to his own development when Chelsea legend joined the club as a 22-year-old back in 2001. He said Mason was outstanding in the game. He deserves all the accolades for how he's played. He's in slightly deeper role at that point, but could still arrive in the box. He needs to score more goals, but he knows that his quality is brilliant and his attitude is brilliant, so he deserves it. And said in press conference, he thought that his performance all around was fantastic and has been very good for us last year, for us Chelsea that is, last year and this year. He's a big example of what I mean when I mention youth. He turned 22 last week. He came to Chelsea at 22, and I wasn't blowing the world away in my first year or so. I was finding my feet, but Mason already has so many games under his belt. Quite a good talk from Frank Lampard, really, and incredibly, motivating sort of stuff to say from your coach. Still in the Premier League, and moving on to the other side of the London City and to Chelsea, as Mikel Arteta insisted in his latest statement that the Gabonese striker Aubameyang can be back to his best. Of course, he only struck 3 goals this season, a stunning dip of form, from which he was awarded a massive new contract after have scored 55 times in 85 before that, of course, from January 2018 when he signed and lifting an FA Cup at the end of last season. At 31 years of age, he's 7 years younger than his manager only, which convinces captain that the experience to get him out of the slump, despite admitting that he needs to see more from his star man, really. He says, yes, it's not about the individual performances, it's about what we do as a collective, and we have to do more in this. And yes, for sure, when you look at these games and how we won, a lot of time it's because of the individuals as opposed to collective actions. He says it's a moment of spark that has to open these sort of games, and then the game gets much easier for us, and it gets you where you want. And he said, we have missed that, but it isn't just over. He says, Monday night visit of Newcastle, of course, is going to be Arsenal's 3rd game in 8 days against a side renowned for their rearguard action. Arsenal could score in only in extra time in the last week FA Cup tie against Steve Bruce's well-drilled Geordies, drew a blank goalless against Crystal Palace in midweek, and are now under pressure to start scoring once again. At least Aubameyang probably had a good record to recall against Newcastle, having scored in his last 3 appearances against them, but certainly Arteta would need more than just Aubameyang being on his top form. Heading into this game, of course, Arsenal are going to be missing Pablo Mora and Kieran Tierney for injury, but he's still confident that the mixture of youth and experience will extend Arsenal's run up to 6 matches without a defeat. From London to Manchester, and Lukaku could be back to Man City as a part of a Pep Guardiola £200 million overhaul. I mean, come on. How much money do you want to spend really at that club? City reportedly will invest £200 million in improving their squad in several areas at the end of the season, with Inter Milan's Romelu Lukaku being a prime target. Pep Guardiola's squad is firmly in the title race, of course, this season, 4 points behind leaders Man United with a game in hand ahead of their tie with Crystal Palace on Sunday, but face several long-term squad dilemmas in areas such as defence and up front, with the likes of Sergio Aguero, Fernandinho and Eric Garcia able to leave the Etihad Stadium for free this summer. And according to the Telegraph, Guardiola and his side will target a new striker, a left-back and a defensive midfielder in a mega money overhaul of their squad. One area of concern is a long-term replacement for the striker Sergio Aguero, the historic goal scorer for Man City, mind you, who has struggled with injury problems since the start of the season. The Argentine striker is City's all-time record scorer, as we mentioned, but the 32-year-old contract expires in 6 months, with Aguero yet to make a decision on his future, but City reportedly targeting a new striker, even if Aguero ends up staying at the Etihad beyond the summer, which I think is a really wise move, to be fair. There's, of course, Erling Braut Haaland in on their radar, and Benfica forward Darwin Nunez also are really targeted as long-term successors. I don't think that Haaland is going to be brought to Man City, really, despite the relation, of course, linking with his father who played there, but certainly this is a different Man City now than the one that his father played in. Let's be clear about this. An Etihad move for Lukaku would see the Belgian striker return to Manchester, spending 2 seasons before that at the rivals United. A spell that everyone almost lambasted him for it, and the United fans are really probably regretting not having someone like him, and certainly regretted that at certain points last season. Saturday looked like an uneventful day, really. I mean, pretty much nobody expected a lot happening on Saturday, but if you look really closely, there is a lot that happened, certainly in the Bundesliga, in my opinion. This is why I'm putting the focus today on this episode on talking and discussing some Bundesliga matters a little bit. Certainly the results of yesterday, you can check out the reviews on my channel for both Leipzig, Wolfsburg and Dortmund Mainz, a double-in-one really for that. Those results certainly certainly would hinder those clubs. And of course, also you can extend that to Bayer Leverkusen's loss against Union Berlin on Friday, which means it is tripping season in the Bundesliga. It is, the time of the year where everyone falls behind and Bayern Munich just take the lead. I mean, as the Bayern fan in me probably would hope that Bayern Munich would take the lead and just, escape away with the title, because let's trust this, no fan wants to see a competitive league. No supporter wants to see his club being, nervous and toyed around in the top of the table and, suspicious about whether they're going to be winning the title or not. Every club or every fan wants to see his club escape and run away with the title. But certainly, the neutral in me would try and see some competition this season. And I thought for a while that we will see that, but maybe this latest result would give us, some sort of, indication of what is going to be going for the rest of the season. But quickly, of course, a reminder of what happened in the Bundesliga yesterday. If you didn't catch up, of course, 6 games were played yesterday. Cologne held Hertha Berlin goalless in Cologne. A draw between Hoffenheim and Arminia Bielefeld goalless. Werder Bremen defeating Augsburg late in the game with 2 goals, managing a 2-0 victory. Dortmund missing a big chance to close the gap at the top of the table, drawing against Mainz and coming back from a lead, really missing a glorious chance when Royce failed to convert the penalty. Of course, we mentioned that in the review. And Wolfsburg, of course, drawing 2-2 against Leipzig, certainly with Leipzig coming back from a 2-1 lead, equalising early on in the second half. Borussia Mönchengladbach as well, drawing away from home 2-2 to Stuttgart. Now, what these results mean for the Bundesliga, they mean that Bayern are now 33 points on top, Leipzig missed a chance to go top of the table and they are 32 points behind them, Leverkusen 29, Dortmund 29, Union Berlin's victory means that they are 5th with 28 points, which means that Union Berlin could compete for Champions League spots this season. Wolfsburg are 6th, Gladbach are 7th, of course, Freiburg are going to be meeting Bayern today, are going to be 8th, Frankfurt are going to be 9th, 22 for Stuttgart at 10th, Augsburg with 11th place with 19 points, 18th for Bremen, Hertha with 17 points, Hoffenheim with 16, Arminia Bielefeld 14, 12 for Cologne, Mainz 7, and Schalke, who are going to be facing Eintracht Frankfurt today as well with 7 points at the very bottom of the table. Now, the question should be asked really, why this, why it's around, or every year it's around this time of the season where the Bundesliga teams just, drop off. Now, the results of yesterday might suggest that this is just an empty period, but certainly for some of those clubs it's not. If you extend Leipzig's record to the last couple of games, really, yes, they still get some wins, but they defeated Stuttgart 1-0, which is barely. Then they lost to Borussia Dortmund, and certainly now the draw against, Wolfsburg. Mind you, a very good Wolfsburg team, to be fair. They're not exactly, a lightweight. They're really a team that, a force to be reckoned with, to be fair. I just mentioned that 6 on the table, they're pretty high in terms of their positioning on the table. Now, everybody expected some sort of competition. Everybody was like, okay, here's some competition in the Bundesliga this season. Finally, we're going to be witnessing some sort of, incredible action in the Bundesliga, because that's something that we wanted for quite a while, to have some Bundesliga competition. But from the looks of it, this is going to be the start of the downfall of those clubs. Certainly Leipzig, Borussia Dortmund, already started that downfall probably way earlier than those people, already in the late days of Lucien Favre's era, and it's continuing to now. Bayer Leverkusen went from undefeated, pretty much, for the whole season, to winless in 4, including 3 losses, and the latest, installment of those was against Union Berlin, a loss in a game where Bayer Leverkusen were inarguably the better side, the most dominant, yet somehow a lack of focus, just like the games that they lost and, the game that they drew in the last couple of weeks. A lack of focus, they shoot themselves in the foot again, giveaway, literally, in that midfield of Bayer Leverkusen. A bad passing capitalised on by Union Berlin, and it is 1-0, and game set and match late on, very, very deep in the second half. Now, do I expect a return? Do I expect sort of resurgence for those clubs? I really doubt it. For Bayer Leverkusen, probably, I really doubt it. Maybe Dortmund and Leipzig. I mean, Leipzig with a more degree than the others have probably more in them to return and to find some momentum going for them. I doubt Dortmund would settle with Edin Terzic despite having the same squad, despite being really, really good. I mean, they're really good as a side. They didn't exactly play bad against Mainz. It's just the fact that they couldn't be clinical when the chances came at them, and there's no better chance that comes at you to score and to win a game than a penalty late on that Marco Reus missed. And certainly this kind of results is going to be putting Dortmund on the spot, a team that, again, it's probably that they are too enjoyable to watch, and they don't be clinical when they need to be clinical, and they don't be ruthless when they need to be ruthless, and they don't be decisive when they need to be decisive. Leipzig is a curious case because Leipzig have been, this season they've always been at the back of Bayern. They've always been breathing down Bayern's neck this season, and they certainly give them a tough game when they faced them. A 3-3 draw that Bayern could have easily lost, had Leipzig kept their focus in the game, and certainly if they managed to keep their focus in the game, Bayern would certainly have lost that by probably conceding 4 goals or 5 goals. But the fact of the matter is, when for Bayern Munich, it is absolutely of all importance to still win and keep the gap ahead of those clubs, to keep the gap ahead of the likes of Leipzig and Dortmund, because as much as it is, again, as I mentioned, it's stripping season, as much as I think, well, these clubs are going to be still continuing their downfall, and it looks like they're going to be having that empty period where they just, the drop of the form and the dip of form is just going to be happening. I think Bayern should do more, and Bayern should win more than just, the one odd game, because it is not guaranteed that that the downfall is going to be happening, or that those clubs are not going to be catching up. It's not guaranteed, really. Bayern themselves are not guaranteed because their form recently isn't exactly, assuring for the fans, and certainly not for me, that they can keep up the momentum going and just, steamroll their way through winning the Bundesliga. Now, again, do I expect a resurgence? Probably for Leipzig more than the others. I'm talking here as if it is like 10 points. It's 1 point, but this is a clinical moment, because this period and these kind of results, and especially we are 1 month removed pretty much from the Champions League round of 16, and that is going to be having Leipzig, Dortmund, Mönchengladbach, and Bayern Munich all involved, as well as Europa League action where both Hoffenheim and Leverkusen are involved as well. So Hoffenheim, are not interested in the league title, of course, but Leverkusen are. So this is going to affect the mentality and the morale of the players, and going to be affecting the mood of the clubs. And certainly, I expect the clubs are going to be, shifting their focus some way to the Champions League, and maybe that will, make the drop off more quick in the Bundesliga. Certainly the defining game probably will be the next Der Klassiker. We'll see how things will be by the next Der Klassiker in the Bundesliga. Is Bayern, by the next time they face Dortmund, which is going to be at home, will they be steamrolling their way to the title? Will the title be already decided, by that time? Will Leipzig return and top the table once again? Will Leverkusen return and pick some serious form, because they need to pick some wins? Because 4 winless games is a fall of grace when you consider where Bayer Leverkusen was in the early goings of the season. Certainly had a better form, and even sometimes better performances than Bayern themselves. And somehow they didn't get a top of the table spot only once this season before the game against Bayern, and they lost it straight away. So to wrap it up, I think a combination of maybe lack of, I'm not going to say lack of squad depth, because that is a detriment, because that is a lie. I mean, both clubs in Leipzig and Borussia Dortmund have pretty good squads, but maybe injuries will start, creeping up with the congested schedule, with the, the fixtures coming thick and fast. Maybe the injury bug is going to be creeping into those clubs. Also Leverkusen as well. Certainly they have some injuries in their ranks to worry about. So probably the defining moment will be the Champions League period. Whether this Champions League period is going to affect those clubs mentally, going to affect them physically. We'll see, of course, how they head and into that period of the Champions League, whether they're going to be having a good form, whether they're going to be full squad, whether they're going to be, how their places will be in the table, because, there's going to be a difference really for Leipzig entering a game against Liverpool when they are, for example, top of the Bundesliga, than they will be second behind with 7 or 8 points, because that makes a difference in the mentality. Overall, the race is still going, in my opinion, as I can see it. Probably people would not give it credit and think, oh, okay, these results should help Bayern if they win. But again, it's if they win, it's conditional. Bayern could lose and could draw really against Freiburg. There's nothing guaranteed now for Bayern after the last couple of performances. After the last performance in the last couple of months, really. I mean, it's extended to like 8 to 9 games now where Bayern just are not sure whether they're going to be winning or not. You will be sure that they will score because they are Bayern, and certainly you can guarantee yourself a goal-to-goal kind of thing in betting terms, but you never guarantee the Bayern win unless, until the final whistle. Hopefully, in the end, we'll see a Bundesliga title race, really, because it's a shame that a league as good, as entertaining, as enjoyable, as competitive as the Bundesliga doesn't have a title race. That is going to be a real shame. That's it for this episode. Like, share, comment on this video, and subscribe, of course. I didn't want to talk about the other leagues, really, because I already did the preview for them. Certainly did some reviews for the Premier League. You can see them in the channel. I was your boy, the HD of the PSP. Follow me on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, PitchsidePod on Instagram. Listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform, or catch it later on at www.webreadsports.com. I was your boy, the HD of the PSP, and until the next time, I'll see you soon.